The Mare of the Night, Part 3. Daniel held open the door to Donut Joe's donut shop, the bell above it giving a welcome tinkle. George and Lenny stood guard by the entrance, defenders of the bakery. "After you, Miss Starlight." Starlight trotted into the equestrian eating establishment, looking around with a slightly confused expression on her face. Daniel wasn't surprised, because it must have been a huge change from the back alleys and cheap hotel rooms that she was used to. Daniel walked into the bakery and shut the door behind him. An Earth Pony wearing a paper hat and an apron trotted up to the counter. "Hey, Mr. Ambassador, good to see ya," he said in his thick Manhattan accent. His eyes turned to Starlight. "And I see you brought a lovely lady friend with you this time." "It's not like that, Joe," Daniel said, holding out his hands, palms out. Joe held up a forehoof and smiled. "Hey, don't worry about it. If it ain't hurting any pony, ain't any of my business." He leaned against the counter. "So, what can I get you? The usual baker's dozen, old-fashioned, and a coffee?" Make it a milk instead," Daniel said, holding a hand to his stomach. "Ulcer's been acting up." "Aight." Joe then turned to Starlight. "And what about you, miss? Would you like something?"
Milk,"
Starlight said, somewhat hesitantly. Joe headed to the back and returned with a paper bag and 2 cups of milk. Once they were propositioned with donuts, Daniel and Starlight sat down at a convenient table. The human picked up a donut and took a bite. He moaned in pastry-induced contentment. Frosty and sweet, same as always. Daniel held out a donut. Would you like one, Miss Starlight?"
"I guess."
Starlight gripped the proffered pastry between her fetlocks and started eating in a suitably adorable manner. Daniel suppressed a laugh. Only Equestria could have adorable prostitutes. As the Thestral and human ate, they started staring at each other, awkwardly, like 2 drivers at a 4-way stop, each waiting for the other to make the first move. Daniel racked his mind. How exactly does one start a conversation with a prostitute? "Well, I guess I could try the old standby." "So, Miss Starlight," Daniel said, taking a sip of milk. "Why don't you tell me about yourself?"
"What is there to tell?"
Starlight said, in between bites of donut.
"I am a hawker. Ponies pay me, and I let them rot me."
She fluttered a leathery wing. Daniel winced. Starlight's tongue was sharper than her fangs. Time for a new tactic. "Color me curious. Your cutie mark. What does it represent?" Starlight frowned, squirming slightly in her seat.
"That I am good at rotting? What do you think it's meaning?"
Daniel raised an eyebrow. "No offense, Starlight, but I don't see the relationship between a swan and being good at providing sexual pleasure." Starlight then began to sweat.
"Fine. It means that I am very agile. Are you happy?"
"Then why—"
"Look, I was having my reasons. Capiche?"
"Capiche," Daniel said. Needless to say, the conversation withered on the vine. "Okay, wrong angle. Time to try this again, but from a different tack. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself." Daniel extended a hand. "My name is Daniel. Daniel Havoc." Starlight stopped in mid-sip.
"Wait, pardon me for asking, but you are the Daniel, yes?"
"Oh, my reputation precedes me," Daniel said with a smile. "Yes, I'm him. The first human in Equestria." Starlight's expression softened a little. Her posture became slightly more relaxed.
"Well, I knew that you were a hotshot, but I never was thinking that you would be the hottest shot."
She clicked her tongue.
"I should have guessed by those UN flags on your carriage."
Starlight finished her donut and motioned for another. Daniel passed the prostitute another pastry.
"So tell me,"
the Thestral said in between adorable bites.
"what do you think of our Equestria? Are you liking it here?"
"I am, Starlight," Daniel said. "It's a very interesting place, not all that different from Earth in some ways. People are nice, if a bit flighty. Food's delicious, pollution is not as big of a problem as it is back home, and the wildlife is much friendlier. Most of the time."
Interesting.
Starlight put a hoof to her cheek.
You did say that Equestria is not too different from Earth, yes? So what is Earth like?
Daniel blew air past his lips. Oh boy, this question. Well, as I said, it's similar to Equestria, but it's got more than a few differences.
What are these differences?
Daniel thought for a second. Where to start? Well, for one thing, we can only predict the weather. We can't control it.
Interesting,
Starlight said.
So every day that you go outside, you gamble?
That's one way to put it, Daniel said, finishing off one of the deep-fried toroids.
Please, go on.
We also have, Daniel continued with his description of humanity's homeworld, trying his best to condense a history, geography, and anthropology lesson into something more easily digestible. What interested Daniel was Starlight's curiosity. It wasn't the feigned interest he'd expected, but a genuine desire to learn. And as it was with equestrians, her reactions varied. Some of it fascinated her. Some of it horrified her. And some of it just plain confused her.
And you are saying that your Japanese find this arousing?
Some do, Daniel said, biting into another donut. It's a rather odd country.
So I see.
Starlight took a long sip of milk.
So, Mr. Ambassador.
Please, just call me Daniel.
So, Daniel, you work for the UN, no?
Firstly, it's UN, short for United Nations, Daniel explained. Why did so many equestrians not get that it was an acronym?
Oh.
Another sip of milk.
I have heard of this United Nations, but I am knowing very little about it. Is it a sort of ruling council, similar to my home country's Rada Kubel, or is it a direct democracy, such as with the Minotaur Republic?
Daniel raised an eyebrow.
What?
Starlight said with a hiss.
Just because I'm a whore does not mean that I am ignorant.
My apologies, Miss Starlight, Daniel said. But to answer your question, the UN is neither. It's more of a club than a government, he said. Member nations send representatives to the UN who vote on various issues and help resolve disputes between countries. If a country displeases them, then they can punish that country through economic and other sanctions.
It does not seem like a very efficient way of ruling,
Starlight said, finishing a donut. On the contrary, it's very efficient, Daniel said with a smirk. Sometimes they actually get something done. He took another bite. Starlight made a strange clicking laugh.
In my home country, there's a saying, a council is where good ideas go to die.
Daniel chuckled, almost choking on his donut. That'd be politics in a nutshell.
And what about the Kerala higher-ups?
Starlight asked.
What is it like to work with them?
Daniel put on an obviously fake smile. He knew this one by heart. Working with the equestrian governments is a very enlightening and productive experience. Together, I believe that we can build a better future for both of our worlds. Starlight snorted.
What is it really like?
Daniel took a deep breath. It's like being part of a play. Every pony involved has a role. The cheater plays the moral crusader, the backstabber plays the friend, and the coward plays the hero. Before Starlight could respond, Daniel held up a hand. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everyone on the council is being dishonest. For example, there's Lord Fancy Pants and his wife, Councillor Fortalise. They're some of the most honest politicians I've ever met. Same with the princesses. But even they've done some morally questionable things. Myself too. He lowered his head. Daniel breathed the sight of a man who was weary of life. Starlight, playing politics is like handling raw sewage. No matter how hard you try, you'll still get covered in crap.
I know all too well,
Starlight said, and then caught herself. Wait, what do you mean?
I mean that I can probably guess.
Starlight laughed nervously.
So tell me, if you are hating your job so much, then why do you not quit?
It's because I'm the only one who can do it. Daniel thumped a hand on the formica table. I know Equestrian Starlight. I've lived with them for over 2 years. Hell, I fell in love with one of them. I know them inside out. Their quirks, their fears, their fetishes, everything. Daniel sighed. Let me put it this way. Our worlds are 2 different lands surrounded by a raging river. And I'm the only one who knows how to build a bridge. Starlight sat there for a moment, digesting his words.
So we are not so different, after all,
she muttered, under her breath. What was that?
Nothing. It is nothing,
Starlight said. She quickly changed the subject.
You know, most of my human clients are always hesitant to hire me at first. You were not. I am assuming you've been with a mayor before, no?
Yes. Daniel pulled out his wallet and slipped out the photo of him and Twilight. Here she is. Starlight's eye shot open.
Wait, you were rotting Princess Twilight?
Daniel blushed. Well, technically, she wasn't a princess when we were dating. Celestia had assigned her to me to help me adjust to life in Equestria. We started out friendly at first, and over time, we just clicked.
So I am seeing.
Starlight said, taking another bite of donut.
What was she like?
Adorkable, Daniel said, waxing nostalgic. She was witty, smart, educated, friendly, talented. He chuckled, and more than a little neurotic. Starlight let out a strange clicking laugh.
So I have heard.
Yeah. I remember one time when Princess Celestia came over for a surprise visit. I swear, Twilight almost had a heart attack when she found out. Daniel chuckled. Good times. Daniel sighed. Twilight was the first friend I ever made in Equestria. And eventually the mayor who convinced me to try dating a pony. Daniel smirked. Imagine her surprise when she was the one I asked out. More clicking laughter.
On that I could bet. It seems that you two were very happy together. But why are you no longer being a couple?
Life. Daniel slumped back in his seat. Those NASA researchers found a way to reverse engineer the portal, so I became an ambassador, and she was coronated. Daniel sighed. There was no way we could have made it work, so we just decided to end it. Starlight's ears drooped.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry.
Hey, don't be, Daniel said, finishing off the last donut. It was fun while it lasted, and we're still good friends. We meet together for tea every so often.
I see,
Starlight said, staring off into space. Are you alright, Starlight?
Yes, it is nothing.
Starlight started squirming in her seat. Daniel wasn't fooled. While the little bat pony tried to keep a poker face, he could see the tension in her eyes, like a storm trapped in a bottle. Are you sure? Looks like something's bothering you.
It is nothing,
the bat pony said, squirming a little more.
It is just a bellyache, that is all.
Daniel crossed his arms. Starlight, if something's bothering you, just tell me.
Why would you care?
Starlight glared.
I am just a hooker. Why should you care about what problems I am having?
Because I'm paying you to have a conversation with me, and I can't really have a conversation with some pony who's clearly worked up. Starlight looked back and forwards.
Fine, I will tell.
She sighed.
But not here, though. I am needing someplace private.
Alright, fair enough. Daniel gathered up the pair's trash and tossed it in the wastebasket. Thanks, Joe, he said. Hey, anytime, Ambassador, Joe replied. The pair walked back out to the carriage. The coach pony was sitting on the ground reading an imported Playboy. Oh, Mr. Ambassador! The stallion jumped to attention and stowed the magazine away.
Where can I take you?
The two climbed into the carriage. Oh, Starlight, where's this place?
I will show you.
Starlight cleared her throat.
Driver!
She commanded, as if she had been giving orders to coach ponies her entire life.
Take us to Star Road Memorial Park. Chop chop.
Then, as an afterthought,
If you please. Yes, ma'am.
The coach pony nodded and started off. The coach lurched forwards, and all the while, Daniel stared at his hired companion. Who are you, Miss Starlight? Seems like Starlight might have been a politician in her previous life, or something along the lines of that. It is pretty interesting to think, if she was in that kind of field, how did she become that to a hooker? There's an odd thing to think about, but we might find out later on. Now let's hop on over to our marksmans of donators. Top donators Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, and Ponyman. CourierCruz CI, Strix, Zar630, Narwhals, TacoCat598, Raiden, Dospo, Delta Omega, RuneScythe9852, Hunter Norman, Austin Roland, Lightning Blitz, Riney Dragonwolf, Secret Moon, Tall Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brethren Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Enderai63, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Jack Cadge, Sky Uchiha, Leslie Prickett, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal'ca Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Zach Racal, Mystery CU, Edgar Garcia, One Kingdom 1, Nissa Rusan, Vazuri, Dyslexic Character Sheets, Just a Random Boy, Hodrick Pelicart, and a Crazy Person. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.